It's lovely to meet you through Smart Recovery. How did you hear about it?
For me, I first actually went searching for Smart Recovery actively, but I had heard about it from a contact in the rehab facility that I had been in, and came along to the meeting.
I knew absolutely nothing about it and I had never heard of it, but like you, I knew I needed help, and I knew that I couldn't deal with this problem on my own because I'd tried to and it failed. So like you, I had just to go out and try to find anything that would help me, and Smart was one of the things that I came across. You've been clear now for quite a while. Has it helped you?
I think Smart has definitely been a big part in my recovery. One thing for me that's really positive, I think, is it takes a really holistic approach. So, we look at things like thoughts, feelings, behaviours, and sort of overall life balance, not just the addictive behaviour. So for me, it's given me a sense of getting a bit of my identity back in recovery beyond just being someone who was unwell or struggling with addiction. What about you?
I completely agree with that, because for many years I was a very happy smoker and I enjoyed cigarettes, but the addiction, giving up cigarettes, was a lot easier, even though it was tough, because for me it felt like a physical addiction. But I think you're absolutely right that one of the real benefits of Smart is that it peels back the layers of the onion and it takes a holistic approach, as you say. Because for me, the triggers to take my substance weren't physical, they were emotional, and they were to do with who I was and how I was living. And coming to Smart gave me a really useful insight into myself to help me stop taking alcohol. I think the first two letters of Smart for me are the important ones, because I couldn't manage myself. I had tried to manage myself, and Smart really helped me with the self-management. But I suppose, as you say, you can't manage yourself until you've got a good idea of who you are and why you're behaving in that way. So that was a real insight for me. Were you nervous about coming to your first meeting?
Absolutely. I think I probably waited outside the door of the first meeting for a while before I came in. So I was apprehensive before my first meeting. I didn't know what to expect, but I think I was very quickly put at ease by the facilitators, but also just having other people in the group, knowing that there was people there with similar issues as me that I could identify with, made me feel that I wasn't going through it or battling it alone. I had other people who felt and behaved the same way that I did, and we could connect in that, and also connect in our hopeful recovery too.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. For me, that safe space was very important, because when you're struggling with a substance, obviously it hits family, it hits people who care about you. But to be able to come to a place, and for me it was important that I was able to come to a physical place, and it wasn't online. And for me to come to Smart once a week was an anchor for me. I knew that week by week I was going to come to this place to be in this safe space with these people, that there was an atmosphere of trust, and the facilitators who were always so welcoming. The simple things that make you feel welcome: a smile, a warm word, a cup of coffee, a biscuit, 2 biscuits. But the atmosphere was so welcoming and felt so safe that for the first time I felt my shoulders go down, and I had hope, because I had lost hope. About you with going forward, with what we have both gained from SMART? How do you feel you can go forward with it?
I feel SMART has sort of given me, over the weeks, a practical toolkit that I can carry around in my day-to-day life. And it didn't come all at once, but over the weeks I've learned different techniques to kind of identify and manage triggers, to plan and deal with tricky situations, and it's really helped build my confidence in myself and my recovery. So I feel like I have a kind of walking toolkit of things to be able to cope with day-to-day life and manage my sustained recovery, and definitely have a lot more hope for the future than I did at the start.
I'm feeling so much more hopeful too, and when I came to SMART, my life really was a dark, gloomy place, and I couldn't see an exit from it. But the toolkit is so important. I didn't even know what tools I needed, but having the toolkit and using the toolkit to adjust my way of thinking about life and the way in which, as you say, triggers affected me, they gave me, I had no approach to my, whether we call it addiction or illness or abuse of substances, I had no approach to that except willpower, and willpower hadn't worked. But the tools that are in the toolkit that SMART has given us, I agree with you, I now have an approach, and when I feel a trigger coming, I can recognize it, and I have a much better chance of dealing with it. For me, an important part of the journey was actually lapse, because since I have first come to SMART, I have slipped twice. But what SMART helped me to do was to see those as learning opportunities. So I don't look back on them actually and feel horror or shame. I regret them. But in a strange way, I'm grateful they happened when I was with SMART. Because if my lapses had happened on my own, I would have been lost. But when they happened with SMART and I was able to talk about them in the group, they've actually made me feel more confident going forward, because I've had them and I now recognise them. I don't know if you have had slips, and it's not for me to ask, but I suppose there's an old saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and I feel stronger.
I can definitely identify with that. I have maintained my sobriety since I came to SMART. I'm 6 months sober now, which is something that I never ever thought that I would say, because I've been struggling with addiction for many years, and it's only by having that consistent, practical, guided and invaluable peer support that I feel it's really helped me to get a hold of my addiction and to be able to practice positive recovery in my day-to-day life. I think SMART has really helped me apply tools to my wider life beyond just addictive behaviours, and sort of shown me that maybe my misuse of alcohol was kind of a symptom for more my way of thinking and dealing with thoughts and emotions, so I can actually apply the techniques and tools in my wider life to help me live a kind of balanced day-to-day and beyond just the addiction itself, which is really helpful.
It's done exactly the same thing for me, and I think it's so important for people like us who have been struggling, because it's, in a way, it's a hidden, it feels a very lonely place. It's a hidden experience, and the existence of a group like SMART is crucial to taking you out of that dark, lonely place where you feel you're on your own dealing with something that's too big for you. And what SMART has given me, as you say, is hope and it's strength. And on a very simple level, it's very helpful to meet good people who are coming to an experience with a positive outlook because they want help. I wanted help, and I was in a room with other people who wanted and needed help, and that helped me to keep coming back. And the people from SMART, who obviously understand the issues, were non-judgmental, were positive, were helpful, were nice people to be around. And for me, that was a big motivator. I didn't feel lectured at, I didn't feel preached at, I didn't feel I was being sold a way of life. I felt I was being helped to understand my life, how it was and how I could deal with it better. For me, one of the really helpful things has been that I can now see a road ahead, both in my own life, but also to start to feel confident enough that I might be able to assist other people who have been in the same position and who are in the same position, and to do a little bit of training with the organisation to maybe co-facilitate or help along, because when you've walked a mile in those horrible shoes, and you can eventually get them off your feet and go forward in life, when you see others coming through the door and you know the pebble that's in their foot, you know the boulder that's pinning them down, to think that you can be a help to lift that from them, that's a big motivator as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think you hit the nail on the head. A big part of it, I've often heard that, connection is the sort of opposite or the remedy for addiction, and SMART Recovery Group has definitely given me that, just that connection with others who have experienced the same things as me. But on top of that, in meeting weekly, there's kind of a joint accountability to want to continue with your recovery, and also a mutual willingness for other people to do well. You're invested in them too. So yeah, it's really great to hear that you're embarking on a journey to hopefully train and help others as well.
You're right. I think we borrow strength from each other in the group. We're supportive of each other. If someone has had a slip, there are people behind them to help keep them moving forward. And you're right, that accountability with a small a, that is also part of it, because I could not be accountable to myself, never mind accountable to people that loved me or other human beings. And that accountability has helped. It has been a motivator. So if you're listening to this, you want to find out something more about SMART. And if you want to find out more about SMART, you've already taken the first step. And what I would say to you or to anybody who is thinking of approaching SMART is do it. Do it because you feel you need help, and you will get help. There's no silver bullet to recovery from substance abuse, but the tools that SMART has given me have gone a very long way to support me in my recovery, and I could not have achieved it without their help. So don't hesitate, because if you're listening to this, you may feel that you're in a very dark emotional place. You may feel that there's no headspace for you to even consider how you might recover. And what SMART did for me was it gave me the headspace to look at myself. I wouldn't have been able to do it without SMART, without the program, without the tools. So when you walk through the door, please don't feel that you're walking into a room full of strangers or people who are going to judge you. Because when you walk through the door, there will be a hand held out to you, so to speak, by facilitators and others in recovery. And this will be one of the most important factors in you growing your life again.